Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour. Remal weakens into a cyclonic storm over coastal areas of Bangladesh and India's West Bengal state. The National Disaster Response Force teams from India continue relief work. Tornadoes and storms leave 15 dead in the United States, destroying homes and cutting power to hundreds of thousands of people. South Korea, Japan and China call for greater cooperation after their Trilateral summit. North Korea's satellite launch plan casts a shadow as South Korea and Japan express concern at a joint news conference. Israel hits Rafah after Hamas barrage, says it carried out a precision strike on Hamas targets and killed one of the group's commanders. And hospital owner and doctor arrested after fire kills 7 babies in India's capital, New Delhi. Police claims lapses including an expired license and no emergency exits in the building. Cyclonic storm Remal, which made landfall between the coasts of West Bengal in India and Bangladesh on Sunday night, weakened into a cyclonic storm on Monday morning. It's likely to gradually weaken even further during the day. The wind speeds are expected to range between 110 and 120 kilometers per hour, and it can reach up to 135 kilometers per hour as well. Kolkata, the state capital of West Bengal, is witnessing heavy rain and gusty winds after the cyclone's landfall commenced on Sunday evening local time between the coasts of West Bengal in India and Bangladesh. More than 110,000 people from coastal regions including Sundarbans and Sagar Island have been evacuated. The national and state disaster response forces were deployed to clear the roads after trees were uprooted amidst heavy rains and gusty winds. The Indian Coast Guard is monitoring the situation. Ships and hovercraft are on standby to respond in the event of an emergency. Now, you may know that cyclones are given a name. But do you know how it gets the name? For instance, the cyclone that hit India and Bangladesh is called Remal, which means sand in Arabic. Now, cyclones are classified as tropical cyclones and extratropical cyclones. The World Meteorological Organization uses the term tropical cyclone to cover weather systems with winds in excess of what is known as the gale force, which is a minimum of 34 knots or 63 kilometers per hour. The next report tells you more.
Cyclones are given many names in different regions of the world. Cyclone Remal falls in the list of tropical cyclones. Cyclones that develop in the regions between the tropics of Capricorn and Cancer are called tropical cyclones. Remal means sand in Arabic and its name has been given by Oman. It is the first cyclone to hit the region since 2024 pre-monsoon season. Now let's take a look at the worldwide terminology used for cyclones. Cyclones are known as typhoons in the China Sea and Pacific Ocean, hurricanes in the West Indian Islands, in the Caribbean Sea and Atlantic Ocean, tornadoes in the Guinea lands of West Africa and southern USA, and willy-willies in northwestern Australia, and tropical cyclones in the Indian Ocean. Do you know how these cyclones' names are suggested? The proposed name should be neutral to A. Politics and political figures, B. Religious beliefs, C. Cultures, and D. Gender. Names should be chosen in such a way that it doesn't hurt the sentiments of any group of population over the globe. It should not be very rude and cruel in nature. It should be short, easy to pronounce, and should not be offensive to any member. The maximum length of the name will be 8 letters. The proposed name should be provided with its pronunciation and voice over. The Bay of Bengal experiences more cyclones than the Arabian Sea by a ratio of about 4:1. However, a 2022 study found that the frequency of cyclones in the Arabian Sea has increased by 52% from 2001 to 2019, while the Bay of Bengal's frequency has slightly decreased. Bureau Report, DD India.
And joining me from Dhaka in Bangladesh is my colleague Naval Singh Parmar. Naval Singh, what's the latest on Cyclone Remal insofar as Bangladesh and India are concerned?
Yes, the cyclone Remal has caused the landfall process, and it caused the Sundarban coast of India as well as Bangladesh, and now it is around the Satkhira and Khulna district of Bangladesh and adjoining area of the West Bengal in India. So after the completion of the landfall process, its wind speed has been reduced to 70 to 80 kilometers per hour instead of 110 to 120 kilometers per hour when its landfall starts at the midnight of Sunday. Now it is moving towards the northward as well as northeastward. Then it will move northeastward as per the prediction of the Met Department of Bangladesh, and it has affected a lot many people in Bangladesh. Around 8 lakh people in Bangladesh have been evacuated and moved to the safer place, and around more than 100 villages of Bangladesh of the coastal district of Satkhira, Khulna, Patua, Kali, Bhola, Begarhat, Firozpur have been inundated due to the heavy rain and surge in the sea. And due to that, the drinking water issue may arise in today's and tomorrow's time, and the rain may continue for today as well as tomorrow. And the second thing, the cyclone, it is prediction of the BMD that at the afternoon time, severe cyclone may be converted or weakened to the cyclone, and evening, by today evening, it may be further weakened to the deep depression. But however, it will give heavy to very heavy rainfall in entire Bangladesh and the northeastern region of India, particularly the Meghalaya, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh and Nagaland, and part of the Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura.
Naval Singh, we've spoken about the cyclone itself. Now let's talk a bit, if you will, about the cyclone's impact or aftermath both in Bangladesh and India. What are you hearing about casualties, if any? You spoke about evacuations. What about the affected areas in Bangladesh? How are the rescue and relief operations coming along?
Yesterday morning, Bangladesh Administration Department has started evacuation process of 10 districts of coastal Bangladesh of the Khulna and Borishal division. And the 8 lakh people have been provided self-shelter in around 5,000 to 6,000 pakka houses or school buildings in the Bangladesh. And the major impact of the cyclone is the inundation in the more than 7 to 8 districts of Bangladesh, and as well as Indian districts, coastal districts like Chowbis Pargana and other districts. And these are the low-lying area in the coast of Bangladesh as well as on Indian side. So due to that, the surge of or windy weather and the surge in the sea has created 2 to 3 meters height of waves. And due to that, the inundation in the most of the part in the coastal area has been happened, and drinking water issue may arise in coming today and coming days. And the most important thing is this landfall process of this cyclone happened on the Sundarban area or Sundarban coast of India and Bangladesh. And due to that, the fresh water bodies in the Sundarban area have been inundated, and there is a 4 to 7 feet of flooding in the Sundarban area, Sundarban National Park areas. So the animals like tigers and other wild animals may face great challenges in the coming days, today and tomorrow and coming days.
Naval Sangh, thank you. Appreciate it. Naval Sangh Parmar reporting there from Dhaka in Bangladesh. In other news, people of Valley View, a city in the U.S. state of Texas, woke up to a landscape of destroyed homes. At least 15 people were killed in Texas when a tornado struck the north-central part of the state. A tornado crossed into Denton County, northwest of Dallas, on Saturday night local time that damaged homes and other property. A tornado ripped through the city of Green Country in the U.S. state of Oklahoma, destroying buildings and bringing down the power lines. A storm that later turned into a tornado swept across parts of central United States. It left a trail of destruction as forecasters warned of more severe weather to impact several states. Flooding caused by heavy rain and swelling of rivers in Armenia and Georgia have left one person dead and forced hundreds to evacuate. Armenia's Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan visited the flood zone on Sunday. At least 230 people were evacuated in the north of Armenia. Heavy floods busted riverbanks that led to the blocking of a highway and a railway link between Armenia and Georgia. Emergency crews in Papua New Guinea continued their rescue efforts to find survivors after more than 670 people were feared killed in a massive landslide that flattened a remote village in the Pacific island. But heavy equipment required for the rescue had yet to reach the village. The United Nations said that thousands had been displaced. A growing number of voters in the United Kingdom say that climate change and environment are important issues facing the country. With a parliamentary election scheduled for the 4th of July, political parties have been keen to emphasize their green credentials. But some critics argue that the UK is falling behind when it comes to a bold environmental policy. Issues such as healthcare and cost of living are deemed by many to be more important, which means that green policies are being squeezed out. John Beaver has more.
5 of the 10 hottest summers on record in the UK have been in the last 20 years. Climate change is impacting the lives of those in the UK, but there's frustration that not enough is being done by successive governments. Climate campaigners have recently won court cases against the government to force them to implement more ambitious policies to cut carbon emissions.
We know that it's a very visible way for climate campaigners to put legal pressure on the government to increase the ambitiousness of its policies, and extremely broadly over time we can say that the British government has become more ambitious, particularly in terms of promoting renewable energy production here in the UK.
Domestic energy production is also tied to energy security and not being as vulnerable to price shocks caused by international events like the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But wider environmental policies have grown in importance.
The 1979 Conservative manifesto, when Margaret Thatcher came to power, was almost 9,000 words long. The word environment was only used 5 times. Much has changed in the last 4 decades, and now well thought out green policies make up a key part of any modern day manifesto.
For the past 5 years, the environment has been picked by around 20 to 30% of people as one of their top 3 issues facing the country. But it still lags a long way behind other key issues such as the economy, health and immigration and asylum. That might explain why the government has been accused of watering down their climate commitments, arguing they're too expensive and could hamper economic progress.
The UK has one of the most ambitious climate targets of any of our international peers.
Yes, exactly.
The UN GAP report shows the UK is expected to reduce emissions at the fastest rate between 2015 and 2030 among the G20 group. We remain incredibly ambitious about climate change. We've over-delivered on all of our carbon budgets to date, and the work shows that we will continue to do so.
But the opposition Labour Party has also been accused of short-sightedness in dropping their own ambitious environmental policies for being too expensive. Despite a growing number of voters saying they're concerned with the environment, the current financial pressures mean green policies are often being overlooked in the build-up to the next election. John Beaver in London, reporting for DD India.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. The death toll from a fire in Rajkot in the western Indian state of Gujarat rises to 27. No respite from heat as people reel under rising mercury levels in parts of India. And India's Mundra port sets another record by welcoming the largest container ship ever to call at an Indian port. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. Let me get you some more news on this broadcast now. The Delhi police on Sunday arrested a doctor and owner of a children's hospital where a fire caused the deaths of 7 newborn babies on Saturday. The police said that the license of the hospital had expired and that there was no emergency exit on the premises. A police investigation revealed that some of the doctors in the hospital were not qualified to treat a newborn in need of neonatal intensive care. The investigation mentioned that the probable cause of the fire is a short circuit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced an ex gratia of $2,400 from the Prime Minister's National Relief Fund that would be given to the next of kin of each of the deceased.
हॉस्पिटल का रजिस्ट्रेशन परमिशन उनको चेक किया तो पता चला कि हॉस्पिटल की जो एनओसी है वो भी 31 मार्च को खत्म हो गई थी और हॉस्पिटल को 5 बेड तक की परमिशन थी, लेकिन उन्होंने 10 से ज़्यादा बेड उसमें लगाए हुए थे 12-13 के आसपास। इसके अलावा उनके अदर वायोलेशन भी थे कि उनका फायर एग्जिट का सिस्टम नहीं था, फायर एक्सटिंग्विशर भी उसमें नहीं थे। तो इन सब को देखते हुए हमने इसमें धारा 304 और 308 आईपीसी ऐड करी है और हमने डॉक्टर जो इसके संचालक हैं डॉक्टर नवीन खींची जो वेस्ट दिल्ली में उनका एड्रेस है घर का और वो उनको हमने अप्रीहेंड किया इसमें। इसके अलावा हमें पता चला कि उन्होंने 3 बीएमएस डॉक्टर भी इसमें रखे हुए थे, तो उसमें से एक डॉक्टर जो ऑन ड्यूटी थे डॉक्टर आकाश, उनको भी हमने अप्रीहेंड किया है।
Police in the state of Gujarat on Sunday booked 6 people, including the owner and manager of the TRP gaming zone in Rajkot district, where 27 people died in a fire. The Gujarat High Court took suo motu cognizance of the deaths. The petition will be heard on Monday. The Rajkot Police Commissioner said that a 9-member special investigation team has been formed to investigate the case. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced an ex gratia of $2,400. For its part, the Gujarat government announced a $5,000 compensation each for the families of the deceased and $600 each for the injured. Less than a week to go for the voting in Punjab, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in an exclusive interview to an English daily, said the results in the state of Punjab would stun everyone and declare that his government was willing to go one step ahead for the farmers. The Prime Minister said his government is in power for 10 years at the centre with massive mandates. Their big mandate helped in doing things that were thought to be impossible, such as abrogation of Article 370 and outlawing triple talaq. He said his government's commitment also had maximum number of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, other backward classes ministers, and gave constitutional status to the OBC Commission, which the Congress party never did. The Prime Minister said the opposition alliance is an opportunistic group without any vision or mission, and that their will break apart after the election. He said the opposition has no agreement on policies, no consensus on leadership, and there is no coordination among their cadres either. So the only thing these people can give the country is instability and a weak government. On the issue of minimum support price, the Prime Minister said his government implemented MSP in its true letter and spirit and started the direct transfer of MSP into the bank accounts of the farmers of Punjab. He said that they are not only ensuring MSP on staple crops such as paddy and wheat, but also incentivizing farmers to grow pulses. He said farmers are a critical component of the India growth story. Describing the political situation in Punjab, the Prime Minister said a large section of Punjabi society is seeing how the philosophy of the current leadership in Punjab mirrors the ideology of urban Naxals. He said people feel it is only the BJP that can save Punjab and put Punjab on the path of peace, progress and prosperity. And finally, he said his party's main driving force is a vision of a developed India by the year 2047. 27th May is the death anniversary of India's first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Nehru breathed his last in New Delhi on 27th May 1964. As a lawmaker, administrator, freedom fighter, writer and thinker, Nehru made a lasting impression in whatever field he chose to pursue in life. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday paid tributes to Jawaharlal Nehru on his death anniversary. Congress leaders paid tributes to Nehru as well at his memorial at Shantiwan in New Delhi. All right, let's now get you the latest on the world's largest election in India. "57 constituencies across 8 states and union territories will go to the polls on the 1st of June in the 7th and last phase of India's parliamentary election. 904 candidates will be in the fray. 13 seats each in Uttar Pradesh and Punjab, 9 in West Bengal, 8 in Bihar, 6 in Odisha, 4 in Himachal Pradesh, 3 in Jharkhand, and 1 seat in the Union Territory of Chandigarh will go to the polls on 1st June. The election result will be announced on the 4th. Meanwhile, campaigning intensified for the last phase of polling on 1st June. Political leaders are holding rallies across the country. BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is to address rallies in Uttar Pradesh. Another BJP leader and Home Minister Amit Shah will hold rallies at Kushinagar, Balia and Gosaipur in Uttar Pradesh. BJP President JP Nadda will visit Varanasi, where he will hold a convention and meet locals. Now, for its part, the opposition is making a last-ditch attempt to woo voters in its favour. Mallikarjun Kharge and Rahul Gandhi of the Congress party are to hold a public meeting in Odisha's Balasore. Gandhi will also hold rallies at Patliputra and Ara in Bihar. Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi will address two public meetings at Kangra and Chamba in Himachal Pradesh. All right, joining me from Varanasi is my colleague Deepika Mehta, who is covering the elections for us from the ground. Deepika, all eyes are on Varanasi, from where Prime Minister Modi will seek re-election for a third consecutive time. Talk to us a bit about the city's significance in India's culture and history.
Good morning, Ramesh. Yes, indeed, this is a very hotly contested seat when we talk about Lok Sabha General Election 2024. When we talk about Varanasi's history, in 2014, Prime Minister Narendra Modi first contested from this particular seat and he won with a very good margin. Then in 2019, he again won, defeating Congress's Ajay Rai, and now he is seeking a hat-trick from Varanasi when we talk about this particular seat. Now, if we talk about the opposition party who's up against Prime Minister Narendra Modi, is Congress's Ajay Rai. Interestingly, Ajay Rai has been a former RSS member and a Karyakarta of Bharatiya Janata Party. But then, due to some differences between him and the party, he switched to the Congress. And since then, he's been trying his luck to contest from this particular seat, and that too against Prime Minister Narendra Modi. However, he was defeated in 2019 with a very huge margin against Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And this time again, he's trying his luck once again. But we went on ground zero. We talked to the local vendors. We talked to the local residents of this place, and they have to say that all the support is Prime Minister Narendra Modi. However, we talked to the Congress party chief and the media head also, who says that they went into the rural areas and the people of the rural areas say that they support Congress. This is their version of the story. However, because this is a very hot seat, we have already entered in the last phase of the political elections. There are big ministers, union ministers, cabinet ministers, state ministers who are continuously coming in from BJP side. And we caught up with Jitin Prasad, who's the PWD minister right now in UP's cabinet, and he said that there is no question about Varanasi seat if we have to, analyze the fact that who's winning or who's losing, because he's super confident that BJP is outrightly winning this. And he further goes on saying that BJP is not only winning Varanasi, but the 400 slogan that they are saying, Ab ki Paar 400 Paar, will also be witnessed when the final results will come on 4th June. So yes, indeed, the final results will come on 4th June, but this is the last phase of the Lok Sabha general elections, and we can see a fair Modi wave here, because the branding and people's will goes in favor of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, but Congress is also leaving no stone unturned to reach out to the people at ground zero. Ramesh.
Deepika, do stay on. I'll come back to you momentarily. Let me now acknowledge my colleague from West Bengal, who is joining us for more. Dibyendu Mandal is with us. Dibyendu, good morning to you. Before I ask you about the election, Dibyendu, I want to ask you about how West Bengal is coping with the cyclone and its aftermath.
Well, Ramesh, that's right. I'm standing in the midst of the tail of the cyclone, which is perhaps passing through West Bengal's Kolkata and the adjoining areas of South 24 Parganas. I'm sure you understand from the intensity of the rain that you could perhaps see that how badly it is raining here in West Bengal, and this has started since last morning itself, but the intensity of the rain increased as the day went by, and by evening we saw heavy to very heavy rainfall in parts of West Bengal, including the capital city of Kolkata and the South 24 Parganas, which has been mostly impacted by this cyclone. The wind speed currently is pretty high. It is about 50 to 60 km per hour here in Kolkata itself, while the wind speed in the Sagar Islands, where the landfall had taken place, is at about 90 km per hour. But however, the severe cyclone the Met Department says has weakened to a cyclone, and that it will continue to lash with heavy rainfall and wind speed gusting to about 70 to 80 km per hour throughout the day today, after it develops into a deep depression later in the evening or perhaps tomorrow, following continuous rainfalls in West Bengal's different parts, including the states of Tripura and parts of northeast. The people are battling. Many trees have fallen down. The low-lying areas are inundated. Many parts of Kolkata have also been waterlogged. We are being also told that some of the electric poles have also fallen in some parts of Kolkata, including a couple of walls of some old buildings in Kolkata have collapsed due to the intensity of the cyclone that had hit West Bengal last night. Back to you, Ramesh.
Debyendu, do stay on. I'll come back to you in a bit. Let me go back to Deepika in Varanasi. Deepika, Debyendu, they're facing heavy rains, but you face no such problems in the temple town of Varanasi. But talking about the elections, what are some of the issues foremost in the minds of the voter in the city?
First of all, a quick update on whether it is really hot and humid over here, and the Election Commission along with both the parties are making arrangements to, make the voters comfortable when they come on the voting day, because I am sure that the situation is very tough in West Bengal, but the heat wave is also here in Varanasi. When we talk about, coming back to your question, and when we talk about the parties and both the political scenarios that are turning up here in Varanasi, we can see that the political parties and the issues, if we particularly talk about, they want job opportunities, first of all. And secondly, because we've seen a tremendous change in Varanasi when we talk about infrastructure, and there's a very good influx of tourists also, which has increased the state's particular economy. So this has altogether helped in developmental process in a very huge manner. But when we talk about the remaining issues, it is the upliftment of the rural people, because that is the main agenda over here, creating more job opportunities and providing a secure future to the female voters also. These three are the main agendas here, because this is a factor. Earlier in other parts of UP, we saw the M by factor, which is between the caste, and here also there is a sort of M by factor which is affecting, but that percentage is very little as we compared it to the national issues, which is largely regarding creating more job opportunities and providing better infrastructure. That includes providing better sporting facilities and infrastructure as well to the people of Varanasi.
All right, let me go back to Debyendu one more time on this broadcast. Debyendu, 9 seats in West Bengal will go to the polls in the 7th and last phase of the election on the 1st of June. Talk to us about the election campaign itself, the candidates in the fray, and the key contests to watch out for.
Well, Ramesh, that's right. 9 seats, crucial 9 seats are going to polls in this last phase of general elections on the 1st of June. 9 seats which are going to polls include some of the metropolitan, in fact, most of the metropolitan cities, metropolitan Lok Sabha seats are going to polls in this particular phase of election, including the Kolkata North and Kolkata South, the Dum, which is part of North 24 Parganas, and in the suburbs of Kolkata, and the Jadavpur Lok Sabha constituency, which is also in the suburbs of Kolkata. Apart from that, the key contest, of course, would be one of the key seats of the Diamond Harbour Lok Sabha constituency, which is again in the North 24 Parganas district, where the Trinamool Congress's second in command, Abhishek Banerjee, is contesting from that particular seat. It is considered to be the bastion of the Trinamool Congress. The BJP has fielded a candidate, a lesser known candidate, I would say, Abhijit Das, from that particular seat. However, Trinamool Congress is is quite on an upper edge in that particular seat of Diamond Harbour. But the other interesting seats is, of course, the Kolkata North and the Kolkata South, the two metropolitan seats of West Bengal, where the BJP has fielded a turncoat from the Trinamool Congress to the BJP had joined before the election. Taposh Roy, who had been a sitting MLA of the Trinamool Congress, he joined the BJP, is contesting from the Kolkata North seat, while the Dum seat, a TMC veteran, Shougata Rai, is contesting from that particular seat. which is in the suburbs of Kolkata. On the other hand, it is the Jadavpur seat where the BJP has trusted its old-timer and RSS and long-time RSS face Anirban Ganguly, who will be contesting from the Jadavpur Lok Sabha constituency against a sitting contemporary movie actor of the Bengali cinema, who's also now the youth wing president, Shayani Ghosh. So that seat will also, of course, be very interesting and very fiercely fought in the last phase of election. Also, several important leaders, including the Prime Minister, is expected to visit the state of West Bengal and hold almost 3 to 4 rallies here in West Bengal to campaign for the candidates. So you can understand the seriousness of these 9 seats that are going to pull. Back to you, Ramesh.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Debyendu Mondal in rain-hit Kolkata, and Deepika Mehta, who is battling a blistering heat in Varanasi. Thank you for now. Appreciate it. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Ukraine turns to marketing to attract more troops to join the fight against Russia. And Lithuania gets a new president. Gitanas Nausėda wins 3/4 of the vote.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. To the Indo-Pacific now, where South Korea, Japan, China have pledged cooperation at their Trilateral meeting in Seoul in a bid to revitalize trade and stabilize supply chains. A joint statement announced after the summit says that the three-way partnership had become a more pressing task after experiencing slowing economies in each country. South Korea, China, Japan leaders agreed to cooperate on reinvigorating economies and trade, stabilizing supply chains, green transition, aging society and medical industry. More than 200 participants from business and trade groups gathered in Seoul on the sidelines of the Trilateral Summit. The three Asian nations together represent 25% of the global gross domestic product, and they are closely linked to one another economically and culturally. China is the biggest trading partner for both South Korea and Japan. In a joint statement, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, Japan's Prime Minister Kishida Fumio and China's Premier Li Qiang also announced that there should be political solution to the Korean Peninsula issue and all parties must maintain restraint. Speaking at a joint news conference after the talks in Seoul, Yoon called for a strong international response to an expected spy satellite launch by North Korea, and Kishida demanded Pyongyang to halt the plan. Monday's summit came a day after the three leaders met separately for bilateral talks with each other. Meanwhile, North Korea has notified Japan of its plan to launch a rocket carrying a space satellite towards the Yellow Sea and east of Luzon Island between 27th of May and the 4th of June. The Japan Coast Guard said on Monday that the notice came ahead of the Trilateral Summit among the leaders of Japan, South Korea and China in Seoul. Japan's foreign ministry says that officials from the United States, Japan and South Korea held phone calls in response to the notice and shared a view that North Korea's satellite launch using ballistic missile technology would be in violation of United Nations resolutions. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi, the country's top government spokesperson, said Tokyo had demanded via diplomatic channels in Beijing that North Korea cancel its planned satellite rocket launch. And joining me from Tokyo is my colleague Chris Gilbert. Chris, what more can you tell us about the trilateral talks in Seoul?
Well, the trilateral talks concluded not long ago. There has been a joint declaration from the three countries to continue to closely work together for the peace and prosperity of the region in general. Prime Minister Kishida of Japan has also made some comments. He's emphasized that it's a very important opportunity to solidify this process of meeting regularly, and he has expressed his intention to make efforts to further develop relations between the three countries when Japan hosts these trilateral talks next year. He says that the international community at the moment is confronting a diverse, complex and interrelated series of issues, and that these three countries have a lot of mutual ground to work on together, such as the declining birth rates and their aging populations, although diplomatic sources have also said that things are much easier between Japan, China and South Korea on the bilateral front when two of these countries are working together on mutual issues, and things are quite difficult getting cats to walk in a straight line to find areas of mutual agreement when all three get in the same room together. Li Qiang, the Premier of China, has said that the three of them must build trust, focus on a long-term perspective and joint interests, and on the matter of the Korean Peninsula, that is the ongoing tensions between South Korea and North Korea, he says that he wants both countries involved in the Korean Peninsula to pursue peace, to restrain themselves and not complicate matters any further.
That said, Chris, how much of a concern would North Korea's plans to launch another rocket be to both Japan and South Korea? What does the joint statement say on issues such as trade and, like I said, North Korea?
Well, on trade, they're looking still towards further discussions on that front. On the issue of North Korea and demanding that this satellite not be launched, North Korea said when it did successfully launch a satellite last November that it intended to launch 3 more, and so this would effectively be the first of those. As you mentioned, Japan, South Korea and the US all view these satellite launches as a violation of the UN Security Council resolutions which restrict and forbid North Korea from using ballistic technology. North Korea, for its part, says that this comes under its civilian space program and therefore is an exception to that rule, although of course in North Korea, as experts regularly point out, the military and civil society is effectively the same thing at the level of government and the level of the executive, and so this would be a use of ballistic technology, although North Korea says it's simply pursuing its own free will to launch these satellites, just like any other country in the world is free to launch these satellites. There are concerns held by South Korea and Japan and the US that they are using this as an opportunity to further test their ballistics. There have been successful satellite launches since Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, visited Vladimir Putin in East Russia last year. There are allegations, of course, that Russia is supplying North Korea with space technology or assistance to their space program in exchange for munitions. These have not been proven, but it certainly is adding more suspicion, less trust and more tension to the mix.
Chris, thank you. Appreciate it. Chris Gilbert in Tokyo. And shifting focus to West Asia now, Israel's fighter jets struck targets in southern Gaza on Sunday. They took out Hamas's chief of staff for the West Bank and another official who was behind the 7th October attacks in Israel. Israel's military said its air force struck a Hamas compound in Rafah and that the strike was carried out with precise ammunition and on the basis of precise intelligence. There were reports of a fire after the strike on an area designated for the displaced Palestinians, which resulted in 35 casualties. Israel says that it is aware of reports that as a result of the strike and the subsequent fire, several civilians were harmed. It says that the incident was under review. Meanwhile, fighting continued at Jabalia in northern Gaza, which was the scene of an intense combat earlier on in the war. During one such raid, the Israeli military said it found a weapons storage site with dozens of rocket parts at a school. Earlier on Sunday, Israel's military said 8 projectiles were identified at a crossing from Rafah in the southern tip of the Gaza Strip. A number of the projectiles were intercepted, but no casualties were reported. Israel argues that the UN court's ruling allows room for some military action in Rafah. Israeli military's international spokesperson Nadav Shoshani said their mission has always been to protect civilian lives.
What's happening in Rafah? Let's talk about it. Last night, the IDF thwarted 2 rocket launchers aimed at Kerem Shalom humanitarian crossing. Throughout the day, we facilitate the entry of over 100 humanitarian aid trucks into southern Gaza through that same crossing. This is just a part of hundreds of aid trucks going into Gaza through additional crossings today. What was Hamas doing at that same time? Hamas launched a barrage of rockets towards central Israel. Millions of civilians in Tel Aviv, Herzliya, and other cities had to run to shelter as Hamas fired rockets. It has been almost 8 months of war, and each side still has the same intentions. Hamas still holds 125 hostages. Hamas still targets as many civilians as possible with no care for the people in Gaza. We are still doing everything possible to facilitate the entry of aid into Gaza for the people of Gaza. The IDF is fighting Hamas, not the people of Gaza.
To Europe now, where more and more army brigades in Ukraine are turning to marketing to attract more troops to join the fight against Russia. They are churning out recruitment ads that look like movie posters or film trailers. After more than 2 years of the war, the demand for more soldiers is higher than ever as Russian forces continue to slowly but steadily advance in the east. Megumi Lim speaks to 2 designers behind some of these ads.
A soldier facing off a zombie, and eyes that glow in the dark. These are not characters in a science fiction film, but real soldiers fighting in a real-life war.
Posters like this one behind me have popped up all over Ukrainian cities away from the front lines. They are there to remind people that they are needed on the battlefield.
Many of these ads are designed by soldiers themselves. Irina and Pavlo, who are members of the 59th Brigade, say they have been making them since autumn of last year. With barely any breaks from the battlefield, their car has become their workspace.
We analysed what other brigades were doing and what was currently relevant in the advertising market. We also analysed the colour scheme, how it affects other people, because this is new to us. We're not designers. But we gradually learned and invented our own formula, how we would like to present the brigade so that it distinguishes our brigade from the others.
They were inspired by the steppe predator, animals that roam the grasslands in southern Ukraine.
The merits of our fighters, defenders and female defenders were earned on the steppes in the south. That's why there's a blue person with eyes that glow like a steppe predator.
Ukraine has been struggling to mobilize more troops to replenish its depleted ranks after more than 2 years of war. That is why many brigades like Irina and Pavlo's have taken things into their own hands. Not only to speed things up, but to give potential recruits more agency in selecting a job that suits them most. Many of these posters have QR codes that lead to websites advertising positions as varied as medics, engineers, sappers, and drone pilots, dispelling concerns that soldiers are immediately thrown to the front lines.
Judging by how much information is sent to us on Instagram about these posters, billboards and videos, they really work. We now have a lot of applications through our website.
Doing like this.
It is often said that the best soldiers are already fighting. But brigades believe there are more roaming the cities, and that these posters will motivate them to take the next step. Megumi Lim in Kiev reporting for DD India.
In a two-day visit to Uzbekistan, Russia's President Vladimir Putin met his counterpart Shavkat Mirziyoyev in Tashkent on Sunday. Putin visited the new Uzbekistan Park and laid a wreath at a monument to Uzbek independence. The Kremlin said that both leaders will discuss the current state of affairs and prospects for further development of the Russia-Uzbekistan relations of strategic partnership and alliance. They will also exchange views on current regional issues. It was Putin's third foreign trip since his re-election in March after China and Belarus. Lithuania's President Gitanas Nausėda claimed victory in a runoff of the country's presidential election on Sunday. Ballots from nearly 90% of polling stations showed Nausėda winning three-quarters of the vote. The Baltic nation's electoral campaign was dominated by security concerns in the European Union and NATO member next door to Russia. After his victory, Nausėda told his supporters that he will continue working on the country's defense capabilities.
Lithuanian people for this support, really very significant and very remarkable support. And I think it gives me the opportunity to continue the work and activities I started 5 years ago. My basic principles and my highest priorities were support to Ukraine, strengthening the security of Lithuania, active foreign policy, and active participation in different formats of European Union.
South Africa's election on 29th May will be its most closely contested in 3 decades of multiracial democracy. The country of 62 million people has been grappling with power cuts, joblessness and corruption. It threatens to end the dominance of the African National Congress 30 years after Nelson Mandela led it into power. Isaac Lukando reports from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania.
On Wednesday, over 27 million South Africans will vote in a crucial election. Polls suggest the ruling ANC might get as low as 40% of the vote, down from 57.5% in 2019. Analysts predict this could force the ANC into a coalition, risking a leadership challenge for President Cyril Ramaphosa. Yet, a recent Afrobarometer survey found a third of voters are undecided, making this election highly unpredictable. 70 political parties are participating, with the ANC, Democratic Alliance and Economic Freedom Fighters leading. Despite uncertainty, President Ramaphosa remains optimistic, confident his party will win nationally and provincially. Ramaphosa has outlined his vision for the next 5 years, focusing on job creation, democracy and Africa's development. However, unemployment and poverty persist, with a 32% unemployment rate, the world's highest, and over half the population living in poverty. Isaac Lukando in Dar es Salaam, reporting for DD India.
France's President Emmanuel Macron landed in Germany on Sunday for a 3-day visit, followed by a bilateral meeting as the European Union's 2 biggest powers seek to show unity ahead of next month's EU parliamentary election. Macron's trip to Berlin, Dresden in the east and Münster in the west is the first by a French president in 24 years. Macron warned against a slackening of support for Ukraine in its defense against Russia.
Être du côté de la paix aujourd'hui, c'est donner...
To be on the side of peace today means giving strength to the law peace, but not capitulation. Peace is not an abandonment of principles. We have too often seen this confusion in collective debates. Peace means enabling a country to defend its borders and sovereignty. International law to build a lasting peace is the camp we have chosen, that of the law for the long term.
And now to news from the world of sport. In cricket, Kolkata Knight Riders lifted their 3rd trophy in the Indian Premier League with a crushing 8-wicket win over Sunrisers Hyderabad in a completely one-sided final on Sunday. Having lost the toss, KKR produced a clinical effort with the ball to dismiss Sunrisers for 113, the lowest ever total in an IPL title clash. Kolkata chased down the target of 114 with as many as 57 balls to spare. For KKR, Venkatesh Iyer was the top scorer with an unbeaten 52, followed by Rahmanullah Gurbaz, who scored 39. Andre Russell scalped 3 wickets for the winning team, while Mitchell Starc was declared player of the match. For Sunrisers, skipper Pat Cummins was the highest scorer with 24 runs. A gymnast, Deepa Karmakar, on Sunday bagged a historic gold medal at the Asian Women's Artistic Gymnastic Championship in Tashkent to become the first Indian to achieve the feat. In a final of the individual vault, Karmakar finished at the top among 8 gymnasts with an average score of 13.566. In both attempts, the 30-year-old received the identical score of 13.566. Kim Son-hyang and Jo Kyung-byul of North Korea bagged the silver and bronze medals. Karmakar had won the bronze medal in the same event at Hiroshima in 2015. She became a household name in India after finishing 4th in the vault final at the Rio Olympics in 2016. Karmakar also bagged a bronze medal at the Glasgow Commonwealth Games in 2014. She returned to action last year after serving a 21-month ban after testing positive for a banned substance. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Up. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Okay, let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.